All praise to the Most High God, and happy Sabbath. And so I want to apologize for the delay, having some technical difficulties. For today's class, we're going to get right into it. It's titled Destruction of Nicanor. I know tonight at the sunset, we begin Destruction of Nicanor as a feast day. So it's tonight at sunset, where we will be celebrating. So we're going to just get right into the class. So let's get First Maccabees, chapter 1. Understanding, I know a lot of y'all have heard of Judah Maccabee. Mattathias was his father. We're going to talk about them today. First, we're going to get to start off here. First Maccabees chapter 1, start at verse 1. Get that real quick.
First Maccabees 1:1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, the king of Persians and Medes, that he reigned in the stead, the first over Greece.
So this is talking about Alexander, the so-called great. Okay, that's what that's talking about. This is he reigned after Darius was killed. Go ahead.
And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth.
So he was a mighty man. He won many wars, slew the kings of the earth. He was taken over. He was becoming a powerhouse. That's Alexander, as some would know him the Great, but we don't consider him the Great. Go ahead.
And went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and heart was lifted up.
So that's how mighty he was. This is during the time of the Romans. This is how mighty he was. That's Alexander the Great. Okay. So he read that for me, verse 3 one more time.
And went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations.
Took spoils of many nations. So he had everybody. He had like all the big nations under him, scared of him. Go ahead.
And so much of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted.
Go ahead.
And his heart was lifted up.
So where it says he was, and so much as the earth was quiet before him, I mean, everybody feared him. All flesh, all man feared him. And where it says his heart was lifted up, meaning he was prideful, he was proud of his actions. That's why he called himself the Great. He was proud of himself. We gotta go to jump down to verse 5.
And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die.
But he was still just a man. So eventually, Alexander the Great, he fell sick and he was about to die. Death came to him. Go ahead.
Before he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
So this is what he did. This is how he parted his kingdom amongst his servants. This is how when he died, this is how he passed on the throne. He parted his kingdom amongst his servants. Go ahead. These guys was people that he knew from his youth. People that were honorable older men in his nation. So when he died, this is who he gave his kingdom over to, but he parted it. It just wasn't one person. It was a few guys. Go ahead.
So anger reigned 12 years and then died.
So he had a 12-year reign, then he died. So let's go down to verse 9.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
So after they died, all those of this nation, they took the guys under him, they started putting crowns upon themselves. This is so they know there's many different kings. Okay, after him, they all start putting crowns upon themselves. Go ahead.
So did their sons after them many years. The evils were multiplied in the earth.
And this is how it went on for many years. This is how they were spread passing the kingdom, the throne to each other. They put the throne here, crown themselves, and their sons, the tradition kept going. Go ahead. Let me see. Go to verse. So let me get this real quick. Verse 9. The servants put crowns on themselves for generations to come, And so came eventually Antiochus came after this manner. Get First Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 15. I'm trying to show y'all the tradition of it. First Maccabees 6 and 15.
First Maccabees 6 and 15.
Yeah, just verse 15.
First Maccabees 6 and 15. And gave him the crown and his robe and his signet to the end he should bring up his son Antiochus and nourish him up for the kingdom.
So this is how they was groomed for the kingdom. So Antiochus was groomed for the kingdom in this same manner. When they were all just crowning themselves, he was in line to receive the throne. So this is how he received this. This is how he was groomed as well. Antiochus is who we're going to be talking about leading up to Nicanor. Okay. So let's go back. Go to First Maccabees chapter 1, hit verse 10. And we're going to talking about Antiochus. So remember, at this point, Alexander has died. His king, many years have passed in his kingdom. He gave the throne over to many servants. And that's different lines of kings, okay? It's different lines of kings. And Antiochus is one of them that's going to come during all of this. Go ahead, verse 10.
First Maccabees 1 and 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
So it's the kingdom of the Greeks. This is when he reigned. He reigned in the 137th year. So that's years down the line, but this is his time. Go ahead, verse 11.
In those days went there out Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So just like now, when you have Israelites who don't want to keep God's laws, there were those back then, and they were saying, "Let us go and make a covenant with them, with Antiochus and his people, because so we can have peace with them, so that we could have bounty, riches, because at this time our people were being chastised by the Most High for being wicked. Because look at what they're saying. Read that again. First Maccabees 1 and 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen. So when it say they persuaded many, they were telling others in Israel. Basically, the Most High, they were saying the Most High God has turned his back on us. Let's go make a covenant with our enemies. Meaning, let's go be in agreement with them. Let's keep their ways. Okay, so this is leading to it, okay? The Most High wasn't dealing with Israel at this time. He was upset with them. So they was on hard time, and this is how they dealt with it. This is how they decided to flee from the Most High. Go ahead. Saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. Look at what their minds said. They said, since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. What does that remind y'all of? Remember back when Moses brought the children of the Hebrews out of Egypt, they saying the same thing, weren't they? They missed the flesh pots. They missed the bread, the water. Yes, they was in hard bondage, but they missed the luxuries. This is what the same thing. Remember, there's no new thing under the sun. They're saying the same thing. Go ahead. So this device pleased them well. I mean, they decided, those that were listening and taking heed, when they say it pleased them well, they were saying they was in agreement. Like, yeah, let's go mingle amongst the heathen. Since God has departed from us, but understand why he departed. Look at their mental state. They have clearly been on the wrong path for a long time. So they said, since God departed from us, this pleased them. Go ahead. Then retained of the people were certain.
Says then certain.
Then certain of the people were so forward herein, that they went to the king, who gave the license to do after the ordinance of the heathen.
So they went to the king to get permission to do their ways. Because everybody knew the Israelites had a certain way of life. The world knew that. Israelites are the children of God. They don't do what everybody else do. All other nations knew this. So he granted them, this king granted them that. He said, okay, y'all want to be like us? Cool. Y'all, we gonna give y'all a license to sin. Go ahead.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen.
So this is what they did. The Israelites built an altar out made of idols. They built it according to the custom of the heathens. So they gonna start worshiping that. Okay, go ahead.
And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves unto the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
I mean, they had no. When they said they made themselves uncircumcised, I mean they had no understanding. They lost their understanding. They separated themselves from the wisdom of God. Okay, that's what that means when they say they made themselves uncircumcised. They no longer dwelled in the wisdom of God. They no longer kept the covenant of the Most High. They had separated themselves. They were departed. They were wise to do wicked. So now they was evil. Go to Jeremiah 10:2, because this is what they did. They start keeping the ways of the heathen. Start keeping the ways that all traditions, whatever they want to do. When they say they circumcise themselves, that means they abolished all understanding. And they was doing that, they passed that down to generations. Yeah, let me get Jeremiah 10. I just want verse 2.
Jeremiah 10:2. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
Thus say the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen. Go ahead.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them.
To the signs of heaven, guys, when you are going through affliction, when you are being chastised, when you're being tried, and the Most High is not dealing with you, that's a sign of the kingdom of heaven. So if you go back, that means that they were dismayed. They was learning the ways of the heathen. They was dismayed because God wasn't dealing with them. So they said, we're going to depart away and start doing what the heathens do. They was dismayed. Go back. Now let's get Deuteronomy 7:2. You understand? Most High said, Most High gave us to understanding. Israelites are separated people from everybody else. And make no mistake, your enemies, the other nations, they know that. They know it. Go ahead, verse 2 in chapter 7.
Deuteronomy 7:2. When the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them.
Whenever the Most High will deliver our enemies before us, or vice versa, deliver us into their lands, well, let me stay on course here. Whenever the Most High delivered our enemy before us, we were supposed to kill them. Go ahead.
And utterly destroy them, that thou shalt make no covenant with them.
Oh, wait. Go ahead, my bad.
Nor show mercy unto them.
You ain't supposed to have no covenant with them. Show no mercy, because at this time they was capturing them. So they were spoils of war. They were supposed to destroy them. Go ahead. And make no covenant with them. Meaning we ain't supposed to be making marriages with them, agreements, meaning we ain't supposed to learn their ways. When you make a covenant with somebody, that means you accept their ways. That's when we talk about marriage and stuff. Whenever we talk about that, marriage is a covenant. So when you marry somebody, you accept their ways. That's a covenant. That means you're gonna start doing their ways. All right, go ahead.
Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor thy daughter shalt thou take unto thy son.
So your daughter don't give to his son, nor don't take his son to your daughter. Did I say that right? I said the same thing. Though. But y'all get what I'm saying. Don't give your son to his daughter. Don't give his daughter whatever. But y'all, I'm talking around myself. The point is, we're supposed to be separated from them. Okay? That's what the Israelites were supposed to do. When y'all hear that, when we go back to Maccabees, talk about the Israelites, they decided to go against that because they basically was saying they hate God because God was angry with them. So they were saying, man, I'm gonna say it like this: in their hearts, which is their minds, they had grown a spirit of saying, and I say this loosely. They were saying, forget God. God don't love us. We don't love Him. That's what they were saying. Was that it on that too, or was that it on that?
Yeah.
Give me verse 5. Give me verse 5.
Verse 5. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images.
This is how you're supposed to deal with them. Destroy their altars, their places of worship. Destroy the images that they put before you. What's a good image to destroy? Buddha.
White Jesus.
White Jesus. That blue dude with the 6 arms. Whoever the hell that is. Do anybody know who that is? You're supposed to cast these things out. The cross. A lot of people believe the cross is Christ. That's idolatry. That's a graven image. So they said, this is what we're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to do amongst the heathen. Go ahead. Verse 5.
But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire.
We're supposed to destroy that stuff. Get verse 6.
For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God had chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
So Israelites were supposed to be a holy people. God chose Israel to be his people. So understand, whenever we going through a famine, whenever Israel's going through a famine, it's always for a greater cause. So listen to this story. Listen to this history. And take it in that the Most High is not doing this to them and does not have His Spirit on them for no reason. It's for a greater cause. And oftentimes we forget that there's a greater cause. Whenever we go through our seasons and we feel like we gotta separate ourselves, we forget that there's a greater cause at hand. Let's go back to First Maccabees. So we supposed to, Most High say we are holy people. Always remember that, sisters and brothers. We are holy people. See what's going on over there. All right, let's get that First Maccabees 1:16. Understand? What we gonna get into Antiochus. You got the Israelites trying to join with him, the wicked ones. So Antiochus, he done became he the new powerhouse, okay, y'all? Alexander gone, many kings have gone, he in charge now, he's the new powerhouse. Look at what he's doing. Verse 16.
Now when the king, First Maccabees 1:16. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he brought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion over 2 realms.
So he went after Egypt, so that he could have 2 realms. So this is what he was on. Let's get that. Let's go see what he did in Egypt. So Antiochus took Egypt and then went to war. Well, let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 5. So jump over to 2 Maccabees chapter 5. So he done took over Egypt. I'm sorry, my bad. It's on me. Go back to where we was just at. We read verse 17. We're gonna get down. Overlooking my own writing. First Maccabees 16 started, hit 17.
First Maccabees 16:17. In which doing he committed a great treachery and recompensed evil for good.
First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 17.
First Maccabees 1:17. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy.
So this is Antiochus taking over Egypt. I remember Egypt was a big nation too. So this is how much of a powerhouse Antiochus is in the Greek nation. He done came up into Egypt. Go ahead.
Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy.
So he came in with a great army. Go ahead.
And made great war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death.
Remember how Alexander had the whole world afraid of him? That passed down. So at this time, they ain't nothing to play with. It says Ptolemy was afraid of him. So he took Egypt easily. Go ahead, verse 19.
Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof.
Understand? See how the Most High said when we gotta destroy their altars and stuff. People follow after us. That's why y'all think they got the idea when they go to war with people, they take their stuff too, and they kill off the inhabitants. They took he killed the people and took their stuff. Go ahead.
Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
So after he did that, now he got his eye set on Israel, Jerusalem. He got his eye set on Israel and Jerusalem. But see, so this is where it gets to that point where now the Most High builds you up. When y'all understand the Most High, these people that be in charge, the Most High got a spirit on them. Okay? America has become such a powerhouse by taking over nation after nation after nation. The Most High put that spirit on. He built them up. He put that pride on them to the point where they can't feel like they can't be stopped. So that's what he got. Now he's gonna go, because everybody knows you don't try. Back at this time, back then, you didn't try the nation of Israel. And it was a reason you didn't try them. Their God was the God of the entire universe. Didn't nobody want no smoke with Israel? Nobody. They went to war and didn't lose not one person. Flawless victories. Whenever they had the Most High with them. So this is where his pride is. Okay? So let's get that. Hold on real quick. Now let's get 2 Maccabees chapter 5. So this is now. So now he on Israel. So where he at? 2 Maccabees chapter 5, starting verse 11.
2 Maccabees 5 and 11. Now when this that was done came to the king's ear, he thought that Judea had revolted, whereupon removing out of Egypt in a furious mind, he took the city by a force of arms.
So this is what he did after he took over Egypt. Go ahead.
And he commanded his men of war not to spare such as they met, and slay such as went up upon the houses.
So he said, kill everybody. What he told his men when he said, kill everybody. Go ahead. And this is in Israel. Go ahead. So this is where it gets to the point where y'all gotta understand what's going on. Why we celebrate the destruction of Nicanor, okay? Look at what Antiochus does here. Go ahead, read verse 12 again.
Verse 12, and commanded his men of war not to spare such as they met, and to slay such as went up upon the houses.
So it's to slay everybody. Go ahead.
Thus there was killing of young and old, making away of men, women, and children, slaying of virgins and infants.
So they killed everybody, from the young to the old, infants, women, children, men. Go ahead.
And there were destroyed within the space of 3 whole days 80,000.
So they was there 3 days, just slaughtering Israelites. But remember, these are God's people, right? So why is this happening? Our enemies, just like we forget sometimes, that we're going through a trying time because of the Most High, because the Most High is dealing with you, maybe upset with you. It could be anything, but we just because like we forget. I ain't forget too. Why is this so easy for me? Why is this being allowed? These people are the children of the Most High God. Let's see. Go ahead. Verse 14.
And there were destroyed within the space of 3 whole days 4,000, and whereof 40,000 were slain in the conflict.
So 40,000 Israelites died. Go ahead.
And no fewer sold than slain.
There were fewer sold than slain. Go ahead.
Yet was he not content with this.
See how proud he is? That he still wasn't content. Greedy men, they don't care. They want to take over the whole world and another planet if they can, and every planet after that. Go ahead.
But presume to go into the most holy temple of all the world.
Remember that. Read that again.
But presume to go into the most holy temple of the world.
What does this say? But presume he was not happy with what he had already. The men he killed, the things he had, the people he sold, the people he killed. He said, but presume to go into the most holy. Remember, these are God's people, the most holy temple in the whole world. One more time on that.
Yet was he not content with this, but presumed to go into the most holy temple of all the world. Menelaus, that traitor to the laws and to his own country, being his guide.
See, so he was ready to go into the temple. Now he's going to take the temple. If y'all understand anything about the temple, guys, the temple is, why do all people always try to take our temple? Now, let's talk classes on who is the temple? Where is the temple at? The temple is your body, right? Well, see, that's after Christ, right? The temple, you become the temple. So you the place, you worship God through your body, through your flesh, by sacrificing the wicked things, and doing the laws, right? Before we became the temple, though, the temple was always a place that was built by God. The temple is a portal, y'all. That's how we talk to God. That's why the Most High allowed him to take it, because he was severing that connection. That's why everybody always after our temple. That's why when they threaten you, they threaten your flesh. Okay? Go ahead. Read that again. Was that 14?
Yeah.
Read that again.
And there were destroyed within the space of 3 whole.
I'm sorry. 15 is what I want.
15.
Yeah, 15.
Second Maccabees 5:15. Yet was he not content with this, but presumed to go into the most holy temple of all the world. Menelaus, the traitor of the laws, and to his own country, being his guide.
So remember when those guys came and talked and tried to wanted to make a covenant with the heathens? That's one of them. One of the Israelites. He was a traitor to the law. Okay? He was the one who guided Antiochus to the temple. Go ahead. Verse 16.
And taking the body and taking the holy vessels with polluted hands and with profane hands, pulling down the things that were dedicated by other kings to the augmentation and glory of the honor of the place, he gave them away.
So he basically polluted our temple, took all our treasures out of there, and gave them away. Polluted the kingdom. So that's what we get to. So Antiochus takes Israel and pollutes the temple. So remember, y'all told the temple is like a portal. Read verse 17, so I can show y'all what he's saying. What this is showing. His pride, but it clouds your judgment. Pride will cloud your judgment. Okay, read verse 17.
And so hardy was Antiochus in mind that he considered not the Lord. That he considered not the Lord angry while for the sins of them that dwelt in the city, and therefore
read that again. Read that. He says haughty. Read that again. Verse 17.
And so haughty was Antiochus in mind, that he considered not the Lord was angry for a while with the sins of them that dwelt in the city, and therefore his eyes was not upon the place.
What that's saying, y'all, is he didn't even realize that the Most High was trapping him. It was a trap. He didn't even consider that the Most High is angry with those people for a minute. Remember, the Most High will never, he said he will never do away with Israel. But then he didn't say he wouldn't chastise them. He didn't say he wouldn't afflict them. He didn't consider that while I'm up here destroying their stuff and profaning their temple, just polluting it, God is allowing me to do this, and there has to be a reason. He never considered that. He just went on his business. That's how high-minded he had become. That's where America is today, with how much they could kill God's people, the police brutality, the killing, the unlawful, how they don't hold themselves guilty for slaying us. They don't think that there's going to be punishment for what they do. It's the same thing. It is the same thing. Let's go back to First Maccabees, and let's get verse 21. First Maccabees 1 and 21.
First Maccabees 1 and 21. And entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof.
So this is talking about when he went to the temple, like we just read, and he went in there proudly. Remember, he didn't consider that God was angry, so he went in there proudly. Verse 22.
And the table of the shewbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the vial, and the crowns of the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off.
So this is he took everything. He just polluted all the vessels, polluted the whole temple. Jump down to 25.
Therefore, there was great mourning in Israel in every place where they were.
So remember, at this time, all God, by destroying that temple, allowed Antiochus to do so. The Most High is basically letting you know, I'm not dealing with these people right now. So the people were mourning. That's why our people mourn, because of the disconnection from God. What do people always ask whenever somebody is killed? Where was God? Where was Jesus in all this? This is God's punishment on them. So they mourn it. They sad because it just basically just became official. Like, dang, he came through, killed a lot of people. Then he profaned, he destroyed our temple. Our people was at a lower state. A lower state. Now they consider don't forget the traitors of Israel too. You know, they over there living their best life. But the ones who were not traitors, that's what they had to deal with. So there was sin in Israel. Most High was dealing with it, but there's always a greater plan. Let's jump down to verse 29.
Verse 29. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the city of Judah.
So now he oppressing them. Remember, because when he took over, when he killed them, like he did Egypt, now he took over Judea. So now he's sending tributaries down there to collect wages from them, no matter what they may be, money most of the time, gold, silver. So he oppressing them. Go ahead. They can't really go ahead.
And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the city of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude.
So he sent a multitude down there to get tributaries from them. And this is 2 years later. So imagine how low they can sink. Most High ain't dealing with them. They got this Greek king ruling over them. They done just been through so much. So now they paying tribute. How long we been here? Paying tribute? God ain't been dealing with us as a people. That's what the spirit they in right now at this point. They lost. Go ahead.
Verse 30. And spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. And when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel.
So they came into the city and deceived the people, making them think that it was going to be a peaceful visit. But they killed a lot of people. It's just the Most High punishing Israel. And Most High, the way the Most High will always punish the Israelites is through your enemies. He will punish you through your enemies. So this is what's going on. Hey, E, can you get that dope for me? So that's where a lot of people was destroyed, even after already being down. Okay, so you understand, when we celebrate destruction of Nicanor, y'all gotta know why. Okay. Let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 5. So it says Antiochus sent a tribute collector to deceive Israel and bring more destruction. So remember too, it's never, when it comes to Israel, it's never about business with us. All right, when people come to destroy us, it's never about business. It's always personal. Every nation hates us. Okay, they hated back, especially back then. You know, especially if you was king, you wanted rulership. They hated Israel. It's always personal. That's why they do the most to us. You know, we don't just have to become partners with somebody and help them with matters of war. They treat us the worst. So this is where we at. 2 Maccabees 5, I want verse 24.
2 Maccabees 5 and 24. He sent also the detestable ringleader, Apollonius.
This is who the tributary was. That's who he sent down there to destroy the Israelites. Go ahead. Apollonius. Go ahead.
With an army of 22,000, commanding him to slay all those that were in the best age, and to sell the woman the younger sword.
So this is what they did. So 20 didn't, which is a precept of what we just read. He sent 20,000 along with Apollonius. And that's what they did. They slayed all those that were in their best age, meaning those guys that was in their prime, their youth, and sell the women and the younger sword. So they sold the women into slavery. This is how you divide a nation. Go ahead, verse 25.
Verse 25. Who came to Jerusalem and pretended peace, did forbear to the holy day of the Sabbath when.
I'm gonna stop you right there. So y'all see how he came when he said that they deceived Israel? This is why they did it. They came offering peace. Y'all remember the story of the Native Americans and how they did them? They came offering peace, but they waited till the Sabbath. Why y'all think they waited till the Sabbath to destroy them? Because on the Sabbath, Israel is resting. Yeah. We ain't fighting. We resting. They knew that we be our most vulnerable. Go ahead.
Who coming to Jerusalem and pretending peace, did forbear till the holy day of the Sabbath, when taking the Jews keeping holy day, he commanded his men to arm themselves.
So the Jews were keeping a holy day, and the men commanded the men to arm themselves. So they came out there like probably a week early, hung out with them, pretended to have peace with them, and on the Sabbath day, that's when they began the slaughter. Give verse 26.
26. And so he slew all them that were gone to the celebrating of the Sabbath, and running through the city with weapons, slew great multitudes.
So y'all probably asked, well, Jerry, if that, I thought the Sabbath was a save day, right? But Most High ain't dealing with us at this time. Wasn't dealing with Inca. What scripture that you know what I'm talking about when he said your holy days, your feast days are all abomination. Like I'm trying to, you know what I'm talking about? They're all profane.
Yeah.
When Most High ain't dealing with you, when you being wicked, and you own, even if you know you Israel, but you being wicked, and the Most High get tired of dealing with you, he ain't worried about your feast days, your Sabbath, none of that. It's all abominable to him. This is why he allowed them to be destroyed on this day. But the Most High, also the scriptures don't just put certain things there just for no reason. When it said that the Antiochus didn't realize that this was just too easy, there's a reason for that. So yeah, so your Sabbath days, your Sabbaths. Just a minute, y'all.
Lamentation 26.
That's it. That's not the one I'm looking for. But it's okay. We come back to it. Let's get back on it. I think they want a good job, though. That's not exactly it. So let's get back there. Let's go get First Maccabees 1:31. First Maccabees 1:31.
First Maccabees 1:31. And he had taken the spoils of the city. He set it on fire and pulled down the house of the walls thereof on every side.
Sound familiar, don't it? Is that what we just read in Deuteronomy? Burned everything. He wasn't trying to learn. He wasn't trying to keep our ways. Or we trying to keep their ways. He wasn't trying to keep our ways. He took everything and burned it. I'll show y'all why. I understand this because remember, nobody tries God's people.
What you say?
The earlier one.
Yeah.
I was looking for the one to say, yo, God don't care about your feast days.
What's the Amos 5:21?
Let's get that real quick.
Amos 5:21. I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies.
So say that's where it gets to when you start going off and being wicked. The most I don't care about it. It go for a whole congregation. But this is we talking about a nation here, right? Down to from a whole nation, the congregation to one individual. When you fall off, you start being wicked. This is how the most I feel. He said, he hates your day, hate them days. Basically your offerings, not the day. He hates your offerings. Go ahead.
Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts.
He said, whatever you offer me, I ain't gonna accept it. So that was in the day before Christ, right? That was doing the sacrifice. What do you think he not offering? He not accepting now? Your prayer. He'll accept repentance because repentance means you sorry, but you gotta go through the stages of repentance. But he ain't accepting your prayers. He ain't accepting your day. You coming in on Sabbath, he don't care. because your heart's still evil. That's where he be at with it. So this is why he allowed them to be destroyed on Sabbath. Now I want to get this one for you. Get Psalms 83 and 4. I understand why Antiochus is doing all of this. Because remember, don't nobody mess with God's people. But like I said, it's always personal with God's people when they do decide to mess with us. Go ahead.
Psalms 83 and 4. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
They want us to forget who we are. Forget that they God's people, because what does God do when Israel forgets who they are? He allows other nations to destroy them. They have no power. They have no power. That's why Antiochus is going so hard. That's why he's destroying everything. Let's get let's read verse 5 on that.
Verse 5. But they have consulted together with one consent.
That's all the nations. That's what it's saying. They have consulted together with one consent. All the nations. Go ahead.
They are confederate against thee.
I mean, they on one accord. That word confederate, what that mean, huh?
Excuse me,
It's a specific meaning for it. Come on, Poindexter.
It say joined by agreement or treaty.
There you go. Joined by agreement or treaty. They confess all the while. This is by design. These people, the Antiochus, they remember he's not alone. Every nation is under him. So he said that multitudes of people to help him take over and destroy Israel. So that Israel won't be one people no more. They may forget who they are, forget they're God's people. That's what's going on now. Let's go back to Maccabees. Oh yeah, give First Maccabees 1 and 31 again.
First Maccabees 1 and 31. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side.
That's what he was doing. He wasn't playing. Now let's get let's go over to First Maccabees chapter 2, start at verse 1. So understand, in these times when we get down and explain, so Israel had become in a sense desolate. Okay? Antiochus came over there, he ransacked it, he taken over the world, and he took over Israel. The downtrodden is what our people had became at this point. Okay? Beaten down. So, generations pass. But always understand, the Most High is always going to have soldiers in the field. Okay? He always going to have soldiers in the field. Always going to have somebody that bear that spirit of, hell no. I will not serve the enemy. So read the scriptures. There's always somebody. Just like today. Let's get that. First Maccabees chapter 2, start at 1.
First Maccabees 2. First Maccabees 2, verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, the priest of the sons of Joarib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin.
So Mattathias was from Jerusalem, but he dwelled in Modin. Mattathias is a mighty man, okay? A mighty man of God. And y'all gonna see why. Go ahead on that.
Verse 2, and he had 5 sons, Jonan called Cadiz.
Go ahead.
And he called Cadiz. Simeon called Dicey. Judas, which he called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Avaran, and Jonathan, whose surname was
So
Aphus.
focus on that. So these are all his sons. Okay. And Matthias was a man who led by example. So those are all his sons that were with him. Good, go ahead, verse. Just to say, I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. Him and his sons were men of war. They were tough men. They weren't afraid of anything, but they had that fear of God on them. And once you have that truth, if you fear God, that fear of men is just not on you. And that's what they were. And one specific name in that group was Judah Maccabee. Okay? He's very important to the story. These guys, this is how he raised his sons. This is what you should all want your sons to be. These guys were ready for whatever. I'm gonna show you. So this says this is the intro of Matthias and his sons, men of war, men of God, men of war. Get up Exodus 15:3. So I want to hit that real quick. So I said it was men of war. Exodus 15:3. Exodus 15:3.
It says 15:3. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name.
God is a man of war. So they was after the spirit of God. Okay? God is the man of war. He ain't soft. Okay, now go to 2 Timothy 1:17. 2 Timothy 1:17.
Second Timothy chapter 1, verse 17. But when he was in Rome,
Not that. Yeah, read the.
second,
Mm-hmm.
2 Timothy 1, verse 17. But when he was in Rome, he sought out very diligently and found me.
Well, that's not it. Sorry, hold on, y'all. Moving too fast again. I think my wife started to rub off on me. I don't know how the hell I did that. It's 2 Timothy 1:7. Sorry.
2 Timothy 1, verse 7. For God had not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind.
That's the spirit they had. We don't have the spirit of fear. He gave us the spirit of power, love, sound mind. Okay, so really listen to this and look at how Matthias handled it. Remember, many Israelites was folding. Okay? Go to go to First Maccabee 2 and get verse 6. So Matthias rose up. This is his time. Go ahead.
First Maccabees 2 and 6. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem.
Blasphemy is the sins, the abominable things committed amongst the people of Jerusalem, committed against Jerusalem. This is what he saw. He's verse 17. He said,
Verse 7, he said, Woe is me, wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people, and the holy city to dwell there, where it was delivered up into me, hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers.
So he still got the Holy Spirit, even though he was born. He's already born. He done seen all this, but he still got the Holy Spirit, and he knows that his people are in affliction. And he said, "Woe is me." And he said, "Destruction." Like he basically said, he low of spirit, sorrowful. Like, is this really the state of Israel, a once mighty nation? He said, "How did we get to this point?" Look, read on.
He said, "Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people, and the holy city to dwell there? When it was delivered into me, and delivered into the hand, it was delivered. It was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. Her temple is become as a man without glory."
Her temple has become a man without glory. That means a profane man. That a man without glory is nothing. Your glory is God. Your glory is Christ. So if you ain't got that, what do you have? Nothing. Ever heard say a man without a country? A man that does not have a country has nothing. God is our country, our heritage. So this is what he's saying. Israel, it's like, man, look at this. Look at the destruction. Go ahead.
Verse 9, her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets, her young men with the sword of the enemy.
These are her vessels are given away to the wicked. They go into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets, babies dying. And this is what's going on. Just destruction. Go verse 10.
Verse 10. Verse 10. What nation had not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils?
What nation has not been a part, has not gotten her treasures? Talking about, it's basically saying like when look at the state of the so-called African American race now. What nation does not take from them? I seen a video on YouTube. A girl asked a Ishmaelite. That's an Arab. I don't know if that's the proper way to say it, but it's an Arab for y'all that don't know. Ishmaelite. A woman asked him, "How do you ask a girl on a date?" And his response was, "I would not ask a girl on a date. I would ask her father and get his permission. If he says it's okay, I would not date her. I would marry her." He said that he said that he would marry her, and basically that's it on that. He had more detail, but I don't know how to do all that. The point of the matter is that came from us. That came from Israel. He said that. So that's what he's saying. Like, what nation has not taken part? Not just saying taken our ways, but come against us. I mean, I guess like, right, we in captivity now, right? We under Esau, right? We were once under Ham. That's the so-called Africans. We've been under Moab. We've been everywhere. So that's what Matthew is where he's saying, man, look at the destruction. Look at how far my people have fallen. Go ahead. Put that in verse 10. Yeah. Now let's move on. Now go give verse 14.
Verse 14. Then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothing and put on sackcloth and mourn very sore.
So Mattathias knew they was the lowest state about the state of Israel. They decided to fast. They decided to mourn. This is where it begins, y'all. That's an act of righteousness. Everybody wasn't doing that. They was paying tribute. They was keeping they didn't really know what to do. God had separated from them. They was upset. So how do you get back into God's good graces? Repentance. You gotta be sorrowful. That's what they did. They rent their clothes and they was repenting. They said clearly, unlike everybody else, they said clearly we done pissed off the Most High. men of valor, men of war. These are tough guys. Let's get some more. Go to verse 15. Read verse 15 for me.
Verse 15. In the meanwhile, the king officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city of Modin to make them sacrifice.
So in the meanwhile, while Matthias and them mourning, the king's officers had compelled the other people to revolt. Like they basically came to him like, okay, we got to apply more pressure. Let's see how many that we can get on our side to do our ways. See how many we can get to keep our laws. Go ahead, verse 16.
Verse 16. And when many of Israel came unto them, Matthias also and his sons came together.
So they sent out they called the people to come to them. And along with them, Matthias, by this time they done mourning. They're done. So they done fasted, they done mourn, and now they decide to show up too when they had been summoned. They decided to show up too when they had been summoned. But Matthias them ain't just show up for no reason. Let's see what Matthias them head was there when they decided to show up to see what the king was talking about. Because they called them all so they could compel them to sin against God, to sin against their own selves. See what Matthias said with it. Go ahead.
Then answered the king's officer and said unto Matthias on the wise, Thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren.
So he basically told them, you a leader in this nation. These people follow you, they respect you. Talking to Matthias. The king is talking to Matthias saying, these people, they respect you. They follow you. Verse 18.
18. Now therefore come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friend, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards.
So the king told him, since you a leader, these people follow you, he said, come and do the king's commandment, which is against God's commandment. He said, after you do it, we're going to reward you with silver and gold. Look at how Matthias responded. Verse 19.
Then Matthias answered and spake with a loud voice, saying, Thou art the nations that are under the king's dominion, obey him, and fall away everyone from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments. Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
So he basically told them, all these other people, they may be doing what you want, but me and my sons, we serve the Lord. That's what he told them. He said, we will not keep your ways. And for me and my house, we serve God. Go ahead, verse 20.
Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
When you say walk in the covenant of our fathers, that means our traditions passed down from generation to generation. That's the commandments. That's what we've always known. Go ahead.
God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances.
Say, God forbid that. We ain't doing. He said, we ain't doing that. You can keep that. We ain't forsaking our laws or our ordinances. Go ahead.
We will now hearken to the king's words to go from our religion either on the right hand or the left.
He said, there's no way around it. We're not going to go away from our religion. We going straight. No way around it. Go ahead.
Now, when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of the sacrifice on the altar which was at Modem according to the king's commandment.
So right after he spoke these powerful words, because he spoke with a loud voice. I mean, he was not ashamed. He stood on it. I know there's always somebody, you ever say something real smart, and then some idiot come out and say some stupid crap and try to get everybody laughing and stuff. Well, in this case, after he said everything he had said, some clown came out the woodworks and decided he's an Israelite, he gonna go ahead and sacrifice to Antiochus and his God and in their ways. So look, verse 24, what Mattathias did.
Which thing when Mattathias saw it, he was inflamed with zeal, and reins trembled.
So, but I want to stop. When he said which thing Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal. That meant he had the Holy Spirit. Okay, he had to understand. So when it said he was inflamed with zeal, this doesn't mean he was enraged. The Spirit was flowing through him, so he knew what to do at this moment. Go ahead.
Which thing, when Mattathias saw it, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to the judgment, whether he ran and slew upon the altar.
So he ran and slew the man on the altar. What that means is, when that man went on that altar to sacrifice, Mattathias killed him on the altar. Was Mattathias in sin, though? Let's see. Get Deuteronomy 13. So maybe y'all remember that word zeal. Read the scriptures, read them word for word, y'all. Get that Deuteronomy 13, start at verse 6.
Deuteronomy 13, verse 6. If thy brother, the son of thy mother, and thy son, or thy daughter, or of the wife of thy bosom, be thy friend, which is as thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers.
So what this is saying is, if somebody close to you compels you to sin, that's simply put, if somebody close to you compels you to sin, this is what you do, verse 7.
Verse 7. Namely, of the gods of the people, which were round about you, nigh unto thee, or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth.
I'm saying they trying to get you to serve other gods. That's not your custom. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him, neither shall thy eye pity him.
So your eye shouldn't pity him, meaning don't feel sorry for them. They trying to get you to go into sin. They trying to get you to destroy your own soul. I mean, it don't matter who they are. Go ahead.
Neither shalt thou spare, neither shalt thou conceal him.
Verse 9, let's see that.
But thou shalt surely kill him. Thy hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people.
So there you go. That's the commandment he was keeping. That's why Mattathias killed him. Because he was serving another God. He was keeping a commandment. So Mattathias, that zeal that was inflamed in him was the Holy Spirit of the law. Go back. Now you go back to First Maccabees 2, start at 25. So remember in that scripture where it also said, now the people, everybody gonna follow after. Once you see wickedness, start slaying, start killing, right? Look at Mattathias.
So,
2 and 25.
First Maccabees 2, verse 25. The king's commissioner who compelled men's sacrifice, he killed at the time, and the altar he pulled down.
So they just start killing everybody. Mattathias, these are God's people. The person that was compelling people to commit sin, Mattathias killed him. Go ahead. And pull down the altar. Go ahead. Verse 26.
26. That thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phineas did unto Zambri, the son of Salam.
So let's say he dealt zealously because remember he had the Holy Spirit on him. It wasn't killing that Israelite wasn't a sin. Go ahead.
Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
He said, look, whoever still got the law in them and ain't trying to do this wickedness, follow me. Follow me. So we ain't about to be part of no BS. We are serving God. So go ahead, verse 27. Verse 28.
So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city.
So they left their houses and went to the mountains. So what this is saying, y'all, is Mattathias and his sons were ready for war. They were sick. Remember when they fasted? What have our people always done? Why do our people fast? Repentance and answers from God. Remember, they was mourning. They were like, man, what's going on with Israel? What's going on with Judea? Why is it's like this? So, and right after that, they decided to fast. This is what they answered from God. This is the hope, the spirit that they received after they fasted. They just felt it was time to fight back. All right, go ahead. Verse 29.
Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there.
So man, people start following them. Like, man, these dudes got the right idea. So people start joining, people start following them. Go ahead.
Both they and their children, and their wives, and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. Now, when it was told to the king's servant and the host of them, and the host that was at Jerusalem, in the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into the secret places of the wilderness, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day.
So the king, I heard about basically what they call the revolt of the Israelites against his people. And so they pursued them to make war against them on the Sabbath. Go ahead.
Now, when it was told the king's servant that the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into the secret places of the wilderness, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made a war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live.
So they were going out there still trying to persuade them to follow the king. But the people, they done seen Mattathias, and they done got the Spirit. They're like, we don't got to live like that. Go ahead.
But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day.
They basically saying, no, we tired of this, and we return to our ways. Go ahead.
So then they gave the battles with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid.
Go ahead.
But said, let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully.
So the people was like, y'all gonna have to kill us. They said, and heaven and earth, meaning God and his people and his warriors, they gonna be the ones to testify for us that we didn't do nothing to deserve this. We have decided to serve God again. So whatever y'all gonna do it. That's what they told them. Go ahead. Oh, verse 38.
So they rose up against them in the battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle, and the number of 1,000 people. Now when Mattathias and his friend understood hereof, they mourned for them. They mourned for them right sore.
So Mattathias never heard a word that the people had stood up against the king and his people, and they mourned for him. They were sad for him. But Mattathias understood that there was a mission that had to be completed. Because during them kind of times, when you stand up for God, It's gonna be casualties. People gonna die. And you can be sad about it. There's nothing wrong with that. But you gotta press on. You know, so he couldn't just say, "Oh man, look at what we caused." He like, well, that's what comes with the territory. Verse 40.
And one of them said unto another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth.
So one of them like, man, if we don't fight back, we gonna die. Go ahead.
At that time thereof they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him, neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places.
So they saying, you know what? On the Sabbath, we're gonna have to fight. We're gonna have to, or else we're gonna die. Go ahead, verse 43.
Also, all they that
verse 42.
Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted to the law.
Verse 43.
Also all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them.
So everybody had joined that were fleeing persecution, now joined themselves to the mighty men. Okay. Give verse 44.
So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath, but the rest fled into the heathen for succor.
So they joined together and smote all the wicked. Verse 45.
Then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars.
So Mattathias and they on a mission. They went round about and pulled down all the altars. They saying we finna destroy their ways. We getting our temple back. Okay. Now let's get verse 49.
Verse 49. Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength in the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation.
So this is how long this was going on. So when Mattathias is about to die. So they've been war for a minute. Okay, but remember, well, you know what? Go ahead, read on, verse 50.
Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law.
Keep the Holy Spirit of the law in your mind. Go ahead.
And give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
He said, don't be afraid. He said, I'm about to pass on. I'm about to die. But y'all keep that same energy. And remember the law of your fathers. Remember the covenant. Don't be afraid of death. Be strong. That's what he telling his sons. That's what he was telling them. Now let's go over to 1 Maccabees 3. Start at 1.
1 Maccabees 3 and 1. Then his son Judas called Maccabeus rose up in his stead.
So now remember I said I just Maccabee, I mentioned him. He was also mentioned earlier. He took charge after his father died. So when he said he rose up in his stead, Judas Maccabee took charge. So now he's leading the revolt against Antiochus and his people. He relieved his brothers and their friends and family, and all that joined themselves to him. Go ahead.
And all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father, and they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel.
So they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. So this is brothers and his father's friends. All they had joined themselves to him. Now they fighting alongside Judas Maccabee, and they fighting a good fight to get Israel back, to get Judea back, to get the temple back. Go ahead.
So he gave his people great honor. So he gave his people great honor and put on the breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him, and he had made battles protecting the host with his sword.
So Judas Maccabee and them, they was protecting their people. This is what the Most High. This is the Spirit the Most High has sent. This is who the Most High sent to save His people. It started with His father. Now He's taken over, and the people enjoy themselves. They look at these guys like, man, these guys are strong. These are the kind of guys. These guys are fighting to get our stuff back, and that's what he was doing. He said he was getting great honor. He was becoming famous. He was winning many wars, but he was doing it under God. Give verse 4.
Verse 4. In his acts he was like a lion, and like as a lion's whelps roaring for his prey.
So he was just a beast. Dude, maybe was a beast. He was like, they say it's scripture. He was like a lion. People was afraid of him. Go ahead.
For he punished the wicked and sought them out, and burnt up those that vexed his people.
You see, so he punished the wicked and he found them, and he burnt those people that vexed his people. He burnt them. He was setting people on fire. The ones that was tormenting his people. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand.
It says the salvation prospered in his hand. It looked like Israel was coming back. And it was all in his hand, but it was by the power of the Most High. People was afraid. It was like these people are really coming back. Remember until the king never considered what his actions were about. These people were stronger than they were before. They were stronger. They was fighting. Remember, said they fought the battle cheerfully. Some of these people they're Israelites, but they just civilians. This is how the Most High designed it. Y'all know when the Most High come back to restore Israel, only the strongest are going to get the kingdom. He weeding out the weak from the strong. These are the strong in what we read. So they fought the battle of cheerfulness. When people was troubled, like, man, Israel is returning back. And it's all being done through this man's hands. All right, what were we at? Verse 7. Go ahead, verse 7.
Verse 7. He grieved also many kings, and made Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial and blessing is blessed forever.
They say grieved king, meaning kings was scared, man. They was trembling. And Jacob, which is Israel, was glad. Remember, they was sad before. Now look at them. Go ahead.
Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them, and turning away wrath from Israel.
He was turning away wrath from Israel. I mean, you guess what that meant? God was back with Israel. God was back with Israel. Verse 9.
Verse 9. So that he was renowned unto the uttermost parts of the earth, and he received unto them such as were ready to perish.
So when it said received on him such as were ready to perish, meaning people that was coming to fight with him had that warrior mentality. They was ready to die for the law. They was ready to die for the most high law. They were no longer afraid. That spirit of fear was gone. Go ahead. Verse 10.
And then Apollonius gathered the Gentiles together in a great host out of Samaria to fight against Israel, which thing when Judas perceived, he went forth to meet him, and so he smote him and slew him, and many also fell down slain, but the rest fled. So
Apollonius decided to go up against Judas, and he was slain. Okay, go on, keep going.
Wherefore Judas took their spoils, and Apollonius swore also, and therewith he fought all his life long.
So So he took Apollonius sword and he just fought all his life long. Judas, that's what he was doing. That was his calling. He was just fighting. Go ahead.
Now, when Saron, a prince of the army of Syria, heard say that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the children of the faithful to go out with him to war.
So he heard that he heard that Judas, he got him a faithful army, faithful to God. Go ahead.
Excuse me. He said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, and I will go fight with Judas and them that are with him, who despise the king's commandment.
So he said, I'm gonna fight with him, who fight against people who fight with him, and those that are against the king's commandment. But he said, I'm gonna go up against them. He wanted to get a name for himself. Maybe I could take down Judas. Go ahead.
So he made him ready to go up, and there went with him a mighty host of the ungodly to help him, and to be avenged of the children of Israel.
So he got ready. He went out there. He took a bunch of the ungodly with him, and they ready to go up against Israel. So this is what's his name again? This is Saron. Go ahead, verse 16.
And when he came near to the going of Bethoron, Judas went forth to meet him with a small company, who when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against a great multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day? So remember that spirit of doubt always reared ugly head.
So some of them like, man, look at how big his army is. Some of Judas men, like some of Judas men is like, look at how big his army is. Y'all, you think we can really beat them? They done forgot all they done been through already. But look at what Judas said to him, verse 18.
It's 18. Unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few, and with the God of heaven it is all one to deliver with great multitude or a small company.
So he's basically saying, with God on our side, can't nobody be against us. That's what he's telling them. He's saying we may be few, but we got God with us. Go ahead. This is why they succeed. Hold on. Now go down to verse 27.
Verse 27. Now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation, wherefore he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even a very strong army.
So remember King Antiochus. Now he a high ruler, so he hearing about Judas Maccabee and how the army of Israel is growing greater and greater as time goes on. So now he's like, man, I can't believe this. These people are actually fighting back. You know, when they do that, they be like, why won't God's people die? Okay, we not meant to die. We ain't meant to fade. We God's people, I think, are we the highest number of deaths each year? But yet here we still are. You know, many of them, probably millions of us have died since we've been in here in this country, and yet our numbers are still great. So that's what he like, man. So now he's starting to get to a point where like, man, I gotta do something about this. It's getting out of hand. What are we at? 27. So he's like, I gotta do something about this. Read verse 28.
Verse 28. He opened also his treasure and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he should need them.
So he getting into war mode. He's like, man, look, he paid his soldiers up for a year and said, y'all look. Basically, I heard the Army Reserve. He said, y'all just be ready whenever I call on you. Go ahead, verse 29.
Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of his treasures failed, and that the tributes in the country were small because of the dissension and plague which which he had brought upon the land and the taken away, the laws which he had been of old time.
So basically, he kind of figured out that he don't have enough to fund what he's trying to do, basically, because he done messed it up for himself. He running short. He running low on dough. All right, read verse 30.
He feared that he should not be able to bear the changes any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so liberally as he did before.
See, he said so. He ain't able to have gifts to give to people for their help. He running low, so he's like, man, what do I do? Because that we had done so liberally before. Like he's a powerhouse, so he was rich. He's rich. He was able to do, but now he kind of starting to run a little dry. Go ahead. 3:30 again.
Verse 30, he feared that he should not be able to bear the changes any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so liberally as he did before. For he had abounded above the kings that were before him.
So he was higher than the king that was before him. Go ahead, verse 31.
Before, being greatly perplexed in his mind, he is determined to go to Persia, there to take the tributes of the countries and to gather much money.
So he was trying to figure out a way to make more money. So he can, because he need that to stop Judah Maccabee and his army. He need help. He got to be able to pay these people. And he thinking like, how can I get more? Go ahead, verse 32.
Verse 32.
Oh, so he went. So I'm sorry. So he went into Persia he went into Persia to go ahead and try to make this work. Meanwhile, he left Lysias in charge. Read verse 32.
32. So he left Lysias, a nobleman, and one of the blood royal, to oversee the affairs of the king from the river Euphrates unto the borders of Egypt.
So he don't left Lysias in charge, y'all. As we get into Nicanor, okay? So Lysias is the man right now. Go ahead.
So he left Lysias a nobleman and one of the blood royal to oversee the affairs of the king of the river Euphrates of the borders of Egypt, and to bring up his son Antiochus until he came again.
So he basically left him in charge, and now he left him in charge of his son too, until Antiochus himself should return. So this Lysias is now in charge. Get verse 38.
38. Then Lysias chose Ptolemy, the son of Doriones, and Nicanor, and Gorgias, mighty men of the king's friend.
So Lysias, he chose these guys, Nicanor and Duramides. So this is who Elisha put on the task of stopping Judah Maccabee. Let's go to chapter 7. Jump over to chapter 7. And start at verse 26.
First Maccabees 7, verse 26. Then the king sent Nicanor, one of his honorable princes, a man that barely daily hate unto Israel, with commandment to destroy the people.
So Nicanor, this is who Elisha had sent to destroy Israel. Nicanor hated Israel. So he bare deadly hatred towards them. I know what that is. That's kind of hatred when somebody lynch you for winking at a white woman. He bare deadly hatred towards Israel. Go ahead. Twenty-seven.
So Nicanor came to Jerusalem with a great force and sent unto Judas and his brethren deceitfully with friendly words, saying.
So he tried to do that Trojan horse stuff. He tried to do the deceitful thing this time again. Remember it worked the first time when the tributaries came down and the Israelites who was on Sabbath, they didn't know what was going on. They tricked him. But this time he tried to do it to Judah Maccabee. Judah, they smarter than that. Let's go.
Let therefore be no battle between me and you. I will come with a few men that I may see you in peace.
So he lied to him. So I'm calling a few men, I may see you in peace. Go ahead, 29.
He came therefore unto Judas, and they saluted one another peaceably.
So they salute each other. They got to meet face to face, and they salute each other peaceably. Go ahead.
Howbeit the enemies were prepared to take away Judas by violence.
So, but he was preparing to take Judah away violently. Remember, this is his job.
Which thing after it was known to Judas, to wit, that he came unto him with deceit.
So Judas could see what he was on. Go ahead.
He was sore afraid of him and would not see his face no more.
Go ahead, verse 31.
Nicanor also, when he saw that his counsel was discovered, he went out to fight against Judas beside. Now, where there were no slain of Nicanor's side, about 5,000 men and the rest fled into the city of David.
So Judah Maccabee saw right through Nicanor, and they slayed 5,000 of his men. He saw through the tricks. He saw through the lies, and they slayed 5,000 of his men. Go ahead. Verse 33.
And this went Nicanor up into Mount Sion, and there came out of the sanctuary certain of the priests and certain of the elders of the people to salute him peaceably.
So remember, Judah Maccabee had took back certain temples, and when Nicanor had escaped, he came to the temple, and who came out of the temple were priests, and they came to him peaceably to salute him. And this look at what happened. Go ahead.
But he mocked them and laughed at them and abused them shamefully and spake proudly.
So he laughed at them and mocked them and spake powerfully. So although they came to him, because they came to him, I'm sorry, go back, read 33 again.
33. After this went Nicanor up unto Mount Sion, and there came out of the sanctuary certain of the priests and certain of the elders of the people to salute him peaceably and to show him the burnt sacrifice that was offered for the king.
So they came out there peacefully to him. These are Jews, okay? These are the Israelites. They came out there and they showed him the burnt sacrifice. It was supposed to be like a peace offering, but they were trying to show him what it was for. Let's get First Maccabee 3 and 38. I'm sorry, not that. Get Ezra 6 and 10, y'all. Ezra 6 and 10. So I can see why they gave him, why they did that. Ezra 6 and 10. They were not being wicked. They were not trying to side with him, but there was a reason they did this.
Say 6 and 10.
Yeah.
Ezra 6 and 10. That they may offer sacrifices of sweet savors unto the God of heaven and pray for the life of the king and his sons.
They did it to pray for his life. They did it to honor God. But maybe the Most High would deal with him. You know what I'm saying? But since he did not, he rejected it. It was a peace offering, hoping that maybe the Most High will unharden his heart. It was for his own life. It was for his own life. But go back to where we at 33. Get verse 34. First Maccabees 7 and 34.
First Maccabees 7 and 34. But he mocked them and laughed at them and abused them shamefully and spake proudly.
So he rejected the gift, and he laughed at them, and he rebuked him shamefully. Get verse 35.
And swearing in his wrath, saying, unless Judas and his host now be now delivered unto the hands, if ever I come again in safety, I will burn up the house. And with that, he went out in a great rage.
So basically, he mocked them, made fun of them, and said, and he basically made a promise. He said, if Judah, unless y'all deliver Judah Maccabee into my hand, I will burn. Next time I come here, I'm gonna burn this house to the ground. So he spake proudly. Now give verse 39.
39. So Nicanor went out of the Jerusalem and pitched his tent in Bethoram, whereas host of Syria met him.
So all his army came. So he went out, pitched his tent, posted up right there, and the host, his army met with him. Okay, verse 40.
But Judas pitched in Adassa with 3,000 men, and there he betrayed, and there he prayed, saying.
So now Judah Maccabee, he got 3,000 men, and so he decided to pray. This is what he said in his prayer.
O Lord, when they that were sent from the king, of the Assyrians blasphemed, thine angel went out and smote 185,000 of them. Even so destroy thou this host before us this day.
Do y'all see that? He putting his faith in God. He praying. Judah Maccabee is praying. He's saying, you delivered us before, Lord. Now I pray this day that you deliver us again. He didn't think Judah Maccabee was a mighty man, but he never thought that he was the mighty man himself. He knew that it was all God. Go ahead.
Even so destroy thou this host before us this day, that the rest may know it. He hath spoken blasphemously against thy sanctuary, and judged thou him according to his wickedness. So the 13th day of the month, Adar host joined battle, but Nicanor's host was discomfited, and he himself was first slain in the battle.
So Judah Maccabee prayed for Nicanor's destruction, and in a battle, God destroyed Nicanor. He was the first one killed. Go ahead.
Now when Nicanor's host saw that he was slain, they cast away their weapons and fled.
So it was a lot of them. There was more of them than the Israelites. Once they saw that Nicanor was killed, they ran. They took off. Go ahead.
Then they pursued after them a day's journey from Adassa to Gezerah, sounding an alarm after them with their trumpets.
So they was to Maccabee with them. The guys ran off and they didn't let it go. They're like, no, y'all not getting away that easy. They chased them down and killed them. They followed them for a day and chased them all down and killed every one of them while blowing the trumpet. Go ahead.
Whereupon they came forth out of all the towns of Judea round about and closed them in, so that they, turning back upon them that pursued them, were all slain with the sword, and not one of them was left.
And they killed every last one of them. They left none alive. 47.
Afterwards they took the spoils and the prey, and smote of Nicanor's head and his right hand, which he stretched out so proudly, and brought them away, and hanged them up toward Jerusalem.
So they took this man's head in his right hand. Remember, because of how proud he was, and they used him as a symbol of his destruction. They said he was so proud, they took his head in his right hand and held him up, and said, "This basically." And basically saying, you know, this was the man that we were going up against. They used him as a symbol. Go ahead.
For this cause the people greatly rejoiced, and they kept that day a day of great gladness.
So they kept that day a day of great gladness. That's why we celebrate the destruction of Nicanor. it's the day we got it's when we got our temple back. So we got back with the Most High God. Read verse 49.
49. Moreover, they ordained to keep yearly this day, being the 13th of Adar.
So it was ordained that this day should be kept yearly. Okay, the destruction of Nicanor. You ever go to 2 Maccabees 15 and verse 36.
So 13, 26.
2 Maccabees 15 and 36.
2 Maccabees 15, verse 26.
36.
36. And they ordained all with the common decree in no case to let that day pass without solemnity.
So this day cannot be passed by. Okay? But go ahead.
But to celebrate the 13th day of the 12th month, which is in the Syrian tongue is called Adar, the day before Mardochia's day.
So this is the 12th. This is the 13th day. Let me read that right over there.
13th day.
13th day of the 12th month is the destruction of Nicanor. When we got our temple back. When we and if y'all go back, because I had to a lot of stuff I didn't cover. Read through it. If you read on, it shows how we go back to First Maccabees chapter 7. Read on, you see how we kept fighting to keep. Cause it wasn't over really at that point. We still have more to do to get to regain our nation, our stuff. So that's what we celebrate today: the destruction of Nicanor. That's why we celebrate it. Remember, the temple back then represented our connection between us and God. Now, today, after Christ, the temple is your body. You are the temple. So your connection comes through you. Well, everybody here has to have a special connection with the Most High. Okay? So anything you want to add on that? So we're going to go ahead and get Matthew 26. And I'm going to go ahead and say it now since we won't be on camera. Happy destruction of Nicanor. All praise to the Most High God. Let's go ahead and get Matthew 26. Once you get done with that, you can go ahead and grab it.
Matthew 26, verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto the woman, For she had wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she had poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman had done be told, for a memorial of her.
For those that don't know, that's the memorial of Mary Magdalene. She was repentant. She's a great example of repentance. She repented and she loved Christ. And in his time before he died, she comforted him by putting the oil on his head and soothing him. And because of that, Christ said, whenever he saw her repentance, he saw her dedication to the law. He saw her dedication to him. He said, whenever this word comes out, always bring out her memorial. So all praise to the Most High God. And with that, I say, Shalom. Amen.